welcome to my channel, Iconicake. Over here I make cake mixes, donut mixes, and even cookie dough related desserts. But today we're going to focus on the basics, and so we're going to make these piping bags. These DIY parchment piping bags are a little different compared to a conventional plastic or silicone-based piping bag because with this parchment version, you can only cut the tip to the thickness of your liking to pipe thick or thin lines. I find these parchment piping bags super convenient when I don't have any plastic piping bags around or when I want to pipe some designs manually the old-fashioned way. But don't underestimate these guys. You can get away with some really good detailed work depending on your designs if you choose to pipe with a thinner tip. Having all that said, let's return to the tutorial. It's so easy and quick to make. So to make these parchment cones, you will need obviously parchment paper, and if you're using a rectangular sheet, make sure to fold it into a 90-degree triangle and then cut the ends off so you're left with a perfect square. The size of a square that I'm gonna use is 12 by 12 inches, but 8 by 8 inches would also work. The bigger is obviously the better because that means that you can pour in more fluid inside your cone. So whether it be like chocolate ganache or even any sort of batter, you can have more room for that. Then cut again, following the diagonal folds for 2 pieces of triangles, which can be used to make 2 piping cones. Now, a lot of people asked me in a previous tutorial if wax paper can be used instead of parchment. Unfortunately, it cannot be replaced. The reason for this is because wax paper is completely different. It's used to wrap food like sandwiches, for example. If you were to pipe melted chocolate ganache in a wax-based piping cone, the fat content will seep through the paper. In 2 seconds, you'll be wondering why your hands got super greasy so fast. Which is why parchment is our star. It's not as porous and somewhat waterproof, so your contents will remain inside the bag. The thing is, you do need to use the piping cones immediately for whatever work you're about to do, otherwise it'll begin to soften and wrinkle, and it's just the batter might even squish through that piping bag. So I find that it's best to work with when the cone is fresh and the paper is more rigid. So once you have everything aligned, you just need to fold the top of the cone. Just make sure that nothing slips while you're folding. And you're going to make 2 small slits 1 centimeter long in the center like so. What we're doing is creating a seal to make sure that the cone doesn't unravel when you're done. So after you've cut 2 slits, just fold that tiny flap in and then fold the upper part again 1 more time and give it a good crease. This will keep your cone sturdy, tight, and less likely to unravel. I usually make a bunch of these months in advance and they never unravel and are always good to go. So when you're ready to use your piping cone, just fill your bag with melted chocolate, icing, or batter, anything that you like that's viscous, and then cut the tip off to your desired size. I usually cut a tiny bit and work my way up. You don't want to cut too much of the tip off from the get-go because if the tip is too big, you can't make it smaller, right? So you'll basically have to either make a new parchment cone or just use what you got. So instead, try to be strategic. Cut the tip a tiny bit at a time and test the thickness of the lines on a sheet. And if you want to make the lines thicker, just cut more of the tip off as you go. Now you're probably wondering how it works. So I'm going to make a quick demonstration by piping really crappy designs. Before piping on your finished cake or cookies or any kind of dessert, I always recommend doing a quick test on a sheet of paper to check if everything flows smoothly. The thing is, depending on the thickness of your ganache or, whatever batter you're using, it might make her squirt on your edible works of art. So unless you like a puddle or a splattered look on your dessert or on yourself, I suggest getting a feel for what it's like to hold her in your hand before you get all Picasso with your edible works of art. So that's about it for this week. Super sorry for being so late with these videos. I've been working on launching some cocktail-based cake mixes and donut mixes, which I'm super excited to make more videos about in the future. But I hope this video helped and possibly inspired you to be more creative with your plating, and I shall see you guys next time. Bye for now!